Hi, I'm Myochi.
And I am Renee, and welcome to the 40 Spot, where we discuss the highs and the lows and everything in between about being 40. If you're a return viewer and listener, welcome back. But if you are new, welcome to the 40 Spot. Please like, comment, subscribe, follow us, rate us on your podcast, wherever you listen to your podcast at. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit the notification bell so that you know every time that we go live, and it's at the 40 spot. On all social media platforms. Also, email us at the40spot@gmail.com. So, what's
Yeah.
going on, girl?
Well, on today's episode, we're going to discuss emotional maturity, what it is, what it's not, and how to develop it. But first, we're going to get into our While We're Out segment. And this is where we discuss things that happen in entertainment, politics, and in our personal lives while we were out since our last show. So, first things first.
Yes. So, well, one thing that I would like to give a shout out to all of the graduates from Meharry Medical College. They graduated on yesterday. So they had graduate students, PhD, dental, and medical students. So we wish them well in their endeavors. And I did
Yes.
not realize this was their 148th commencement.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And like we both went to colleges in Nashville. Kind of Meharry was smashed in between, literally between the two schools, and I really did not know that that school had been in operation and producing absolutely great physicians and dentists and researchers and all the above. So we definitely want to give them a shout out. The ceremony was great. um so we always want to celebrate those who are celebrating. Also, this is graduation season. So anybody who's graduating from college, high school, we wish you well. We wish you the best in the next phase of your life. Um, so talking about entertainment, it's so crazy. You know, your best friend Miss Beyonce did not realize that her brand Ivy Park had partnered up with Adidas, and they are severing ties because they projected that she would have $355 million worth of sales, and it was only about $65 million.
Oh
And it's
wow.
kind of right. So,
A lot of
from a
millions though.
business, yes. So, because I've tried to purchase stuff before from the Adidas Ivy Park, and it has just been sold out like
Right.
none other. So, since they have said that, that kind of, giving a testament of how post pandemic, on the cusp of a recession slash depression, people, they are, concerned about their funds and day-to-day life, and they just do not have that extra money, or the extra money, they're definitely trying to save it for a rainy day or a rainy time. But there will be no more new um Ivy Park
Partnership.
Adidas.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I know that it came out with Adidas, so maybe she'll be partnering with another brand, or maybe just having Ivy Pop all by itself. That makes sense because it could also be sold out because of inventory. So it says sold out, but maybe they haven't really created a lot of things, so that could be why. But what
True.
also has happened, my best friend in my head, she's so smart. So she teased at a new brand that she'll have a hair care line. So she talked
Oh,
about being in her mom's salon and getting her hair done and stuff like that. So it wasn't like really just put out. It was kind of like a coming soon situation. So I'm excited about that. Also, the tour started, honey. The tour has started. People are posting. I'm half excited about like the post, so you get to see little clips. But at the same time, I will be there in August, so I want to see
okay.
all the outfits. Like, let me be surprised. Please stop posting. Please
Right.
let me enjoy it. I like to be surprised, but
Yeah,
I'm
but
gonna love it regardless.
who knows? Somewhere in between, you don't ever even know, because she is definitely, her and her team are very, very creative, and she may know that, hey, we're going to have, they may have already planned that in
Like
between
on
that
that
show for
leg to
people who
change it up.
following, they changing up their whole entire routine, which I think that would
Exactly.
be great.
And at the
So
very least,
that,
it's I'm going to the one in Atlanta, so you never
okay.
know. You may bring out Usher because you know her and Usher did a song. We going to see Usher in July. I just had to say that again because I'm super excited. He was also my boyfriend. He's my first boyfriend, if you didn't know.
What?
So
I
okay,
know.
I'm fanning out about Beyonce. So what else is
She is
happening,
a
girl? What else happened while we were
true
out?
Beehive member.
I
True
am.
Beehive member.
I am, but
Um, Speaking of that, her and Jay Z with their record breaking things that they do, they have purchased so far the most expensive private home in the state of California, which is
yeah,
$200 million.
yeah,
And they had like a aerial view of it, and honestly, had it not really had like a pool and you knew this is supposed to be a private residence, you definitely would have just thought like, okay, this is some type of warehouse or factory or something. It is,
hmm
from the aerial view, it is humongous. So
you have to spend
we,
money. That's the thing about the U.S. Like you have to spend it somewhere, and where does your investment goes? We all know land, property, other types of investments. So hopefully she'll
yes.
invite me over.
Maybe so. Maybe so. But getting back with the hair care line, it is amazing that she hasn't already did a lot of other brand marketing
I
as other
know.
people has done.
When
And
I
I
heard
know,
about that, I thought about Rihanna. I'm like, Rihanna literally, not saying that Beyonce, because Beyonce's making a lot of music. She's had a million tours, but Rihanna's really in a position where she never has to write another song ever. When she does her music, it will be from a place of I'm enjoying it. I have something to share. And I'm like, I'm surprised, you know, that my best friend,
yes.
but if you
Absolutely.
be
So,
everything,
one thing about it is that because because I'm natural, just because you put your name on it does not mean that it is good or it's good for my hair. So there are some honest reviewers of women, of black women, African. I'm not gonna say people of color, cause, but black women that have
people who
all
have
types of
C4,
texture, huh?
okay? I said people who have C4.
Some people have 5G and it ain't, we ain't
Exactly.
talking about cell phone stuff. So they would definitely give like honest reviews. But I really do believe because people they expect great things from her, that it is probably good products, and hopefully it's not just geared to one type of hair. And
Well,
some people, it can still be a great product, it just may not be great for
for
them.
them, yeah, and that's all the time. But at the same time, I feel like, um, to your point, that I really hope that they have variety. And her mom was a hairstylist,
Yes.
so hopefully she leans on. And I'm more than sure that she does because she's very seems to be close with her mom. So I hope she
Hmm.
leans on that knowledge. Like, hey, so you want to have something that is going to go, especially if you are. And I'm sure she's not just going to market to black women. I'm gonna be honest. I sell something. I want everybody to buy it. Everybody. I want everybody money, the green kind.
Exactly. And I definitely feel like there's been a lot of people, but if you want a recent, as I say, Rihanna, she makes stuff definitely for every body,
Right.
and everybody, like their body type, their hair
Body
type,
type,
because
every shade,
yes.
whatever. And that is
And
smart.
and I would say even with Rihanna, her beauty products for her face and stuff, it is absolutely great. And her moisturizer has sunscreen in it. Let me
Hmm.
tell you, she must have went in there. I know we can't be ashy,
I know that's right.
Because
I
I'm
had to love
telling
it.
you, like, you can put on a lot of it and you are not ashy. I don't know what they have put in there or was able to take out, but it's like there's no ashy, gray looking, none of that.
Well, it's
But
probably some pigment that they've added. The reality is a lot of things are not made with us in mind. So when
true.
we put it on our skin, it doesn't work for us because it wasn't made for us. I mean, it literally wasn't even tested on us because they don't
Mm,
care. They haven't cared, you know. So they care now because Rihanna is making that moolah. They're like,
right.
oh,
And
we
you
want to get
seen
it. Now you want
people
to do all the shades. Oh, darker melanated women want makeup. Yeah, they do. You
like
know,
women just in general, that's just part of it. But moving on along, Adidas and Kanye, they are definitely splitting ways, and right now they're at the phase where I think whatever they had in store, or in production or whatever like that, they're going to sell that, but then a lot of the proceeds are going to the anti-defamation fund, whatever that is. But there will be no more Yeezy nothing.
I
So
wonder if he gets any of the proceeds or does Adidas get it? You know what I mean? Because it's
I
like in the music industry, depending on the type of contract you had, if you're done, oh, whatever you create is ours.
well, I think because that's kind of how it started out at the beginning when they like dropped him, and then he was just like no, but then they kind of went back to the table to negotiate something. So excuse me, I'm pretty sure that the negotiation was, it probably wasn't that it came out on the good side, but it's like, okay, this is the best way for us to separate.
Mhm.
Whereas sell whatever was already purchased, I guess, materials to make whatever it is, make the product, sell it, and when the last pair is gone, that's it.
We done.
So but whatever is like the last ones and stuff, I'm pretty sure they're going to be extremely expensive, and it's going to be one of those, I guess like an
Right.
antique or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
that people, it's like, I ain't wearing these. This is
I tell
something
you
that's just
one
going to be in a
thing,
case.
Kanye know how to drag out a contract. His divorce seemed to take forever. Now this separation from Adidas is
Well, you
taking
do know
forever.
that he is friends with the sue contract, go to court king, Donald Trump.
Oh
So
yeah.
like Donald Trump has stayed in court and ongoing court, like he probably, it wouldn't surprise me, he have like 20, 30 cases going on at the same time, or stuff that is still been ongoing even before he went into office and as of right now. So he definitely knows, so
Yeah,
he's friends with him. So
that's
he got some, he got some people and stuff behind him. um as you see, I'm back in my car, people. I'm back down here in Memphis, but I just came down here just for the day. Um, I didn't go to Memphis or May or anything like that. But since I'm down here, I would gotta say something about Memphis Wizards player Ja Morant. He's back in the news again for the exact same thing, you on IG Live flashing guns. And it said that one of his friends.
I'm sorry.
Ah, girl.
Oh, y'all, I don't know if y'all ever saw these videos. It's this little boy. I don't even know who it is. I think we made assumptions as of who it is, but he got a gun and he like
And
anyway.
he just so turned up. I mean, this is happy as he wanna be, but
It,
he's like so crazy. So
it's crazy.
yes, that probably would be
Wild.
equivalent. Cause
He
he's
the little
listening to
boy
music and he's jamming out, and
is
he's
a
just like,
wild man.
"Here
And the
come your
thing about it
friend."
is, like, I feel like that really points to our topic tonight because we have a little boy who's 10, 11, maybe 12, maybe 13 at the most. And I'm saying it because sometimes
Right.
they're a little younger than they are. And then you have a grown man. You're making that is not emotional mature because
And
you're
not even
excited and
just
you're making
that,
decisions off of
you
your
you're not normal people anymore. You are one of the top players for the Memphis Wizards. also based off your stats, you're not a low ranking NBA player in
Right.
general. So people, they knew you because like he was carrying the team.
Yeah.
Like he really did very, very well this season. So people, they knew you for your talent and everything. And it's like, bruh, where is your people at? Where is somebody just like, you know what? You ain't going out. It ain't no music. If you got some music on, it's gonna be church music. It's gonna be jazz. It's gonna be classical. So it's just like, why is you doing this to that?
Honey,
You know what I'm
you
saying? Or it's gonna be
need
some kids bop type of stuff. Like you don't need nothing to evoke any type of emotion
he
in you.
needs someone over his social media because you can do whatever you want in your house. But when you get to social media, listen, even when you delete it, it is there. It is in the cloud. We all know. Like, it's wild. But speaking of unhinged entertainers, before we talked about Jonathan Majors and all the stuff that was going on with him and a fight
Yes.
with his girlfriend at the time. So honey, he didn't waste any time. He and Miss Megan Good have been spotted, honey, and it was rumored, but now the rumors are like, oh, it must be true because they were seen boarding a plane, is boarding and getting off, I want to say. So the T is that they are together. I wonder how that went. It's a lot of people talking about, do you think it's like a publicity or whatever? And not to say it has to be publicity, it's just kind of like the timing. Like, how are you going through this thing and then y'all hook up? But at the same time, they're both actors. Like, I wonder if it was a DM, like she DM'd him to be like just encouragement. And you know how I mean things can blossom from there. Baby, that show, honey, they be like,
But
bye.
it was definitely very quick. And I don't know what the standard time is like after you've gotten out of stuff or
When,
and then
when you want
sometimes when
that's
yeah,
your
this is true.
business, period.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
And,
know.
and
Listen,
you know,
you're
sometimes
done.
and sometimes when we the public hear about things, it is very old. Like everybody knows, like they could have been together for quite
Friends.
some
No, they haven't
time.
been together because that means I'm a, that mean that they had been together, that he had been cheating on a white girl. I mean, I don't know her name, so I'm calling her a white girl. So I won't say that Miss Megan Good did that, but they probably have been friends. They're actors and in the same circle.
That is true. And then sometimes, you know, it's you know, people they PR people, it has been known in history that they have said people are together and it's definitely a PR stunt. And I just I'm not saying like they wouldn't be good for one another. I don't know, but I guess because with Megan's ex-husband, I've been so used to seeing her with him.
Hmm.
It's I'm not saying I'm not quite ready to see her with someone else. It's just that I would not have pit her with him.
And also, maybe that's the reason. Maybe that is the reason. You know what? They're just having fun. People have fun, and rich people have fun together a very different way than people everyday, regular, degular. You know what I'm saying? Y'all, you catch
Let me get rich and let
like
me see how the fun go.
exactly. So they could just be having fun, enjoying each other's time, and maybe that's the whole point. Everybody's just so used to she was married for so long, and now you're single. No, I need you to start seeing me with other men because I need y'all to start seeing me differently. And that doesn't mean
Okay.
we're gonna be together. Doesn't mean we're gonna get married. That means I'm enjoying his time.
Okay.
That's how I. But my good sister, I ain't gonna put her in there. She been knowing him and liking him, and he was talking on the slide. But they probably been friends.
Well, one thing about it is that the pool of black actors and actresses are
Exactly.
small, and it's hard not to know one another. And especially with them, they have graced the silver screen on big projects. So, and she started out as a kid actor. So I mean, he probably grew up seeing her in different projects and stuff like that. So them knowing one another is definitely, you know, but I
Very
know people in their comment section, one thing they would say, how you done messed up now this white girl, now you want to come home to your black sisters and stuff like that. That will forever. ever, 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 always, ever will be one of those things like, then I did you wrong. Now you want to come back home or whatever. So,
Yeah, it'll be
black
interesting to see
men,
how it play out.
guard your energy, try to get to know the persons who you are with, ask them their backgrounds and different things of that nature. And sometimes if you ask the right questions, it's going to come out. It will. I get in
Exactly.
trouble all the time for
For
asking too many
real.
questions, but I still ask them
As my favorite saying is, these are just clarifying questions.
just to,
Because
we
the
got to try to
reality
get out this
is,
mud.
the reality is when you're asking questions, we have, words have meaning, and one word for me may mean something totally different. So we could be having a totally different conversation, thinking we're talking about the same thing, but we have different ideas on words. I think
Yeah,
this is a great segue into our topic, because
yeah,
that is an important part of being emotionally mature,
yeah.
knowing your words, knowing how to communicate. So today's topic, we are talking about being emotionally mature, emotional intelligence. And I looked up the definition.
Mm,
We like to give a little specifics, and then we're gonna give our opinion. How about that?
yeah.
So, but emotional intelligence means to be aware of, control, and express one's emotion, and to handle interpersonal relationships. And to be empathetic. It says emotional intelligence is the key to both personal and professional success. And yeah, I was saying emotional intelligence, but that is, in order to be emotionally intelligent, you also have to be emotionally mature, because all that means is that you have grown. You're not
Mm.
reacting like the example with the kid with the gun. Nah, 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 and Jay Mine, how old is he? Doing the same thing. Like, grow up. And that's what that really is. I mean, that's just a general grow up. But just giving those comparisons. And here's a little, it said, if you are have emotion, or if you are emotionally intelligent, you're able to accept criticism and your responsibilities. You're able to move on after making a mistake. You're able to share your feelings with others. You're able to say no when you need to, because, and that's a big piece, because a lot of times that comes from being immature in your emotions, because you're actually afraid of what someone will say if you say no. So you're
Oh,
moving differently than you truly want to, because you haven't grown in that. You don't have growth in that aspect. um
okay.
and you're able to solve problems in ways that work for everyone. You're not a child being emotionally immature, like, nope, it needs to be this way. Well, this makes me feel sad, so therefore you all should feel sad. You
Mm,
saying like, okay, I feel this way and you guys feel this way, and that's fine. And so how do we move forward in those feelings? So that's what emotional maturity and emotional intelligence look like. But we realize, honey, oftentimes we having conversations with people and you're like, oh my God, who am I talking to? And this
yeah.
happens at work, this happens in your family, this happens in your personal romantic relationships. So first, you know, do you feel like you are emotionally mature, Renee?
Um, if I had to give it a level, I probably would say I'm in my second sophomore year in college.
I like that.
I ain't graduated yet.
Let's rate it. Let's rate it like, 0 to 10. If you would say
Okay.
0 being an infant, 10 being with your doctorate.
Ooh, wait. I'm giving faces like who? Debatables. Like, oh my God, I
Uh-huh.
don't know.
When you go to rate
Uh,
stuff, you really put it like, oh, like,
yes,
but
and
you can,
you want to rate yourself truthfully.
yeah,
Because in some areas I excel better than in others, and I definitely feel like that can be true. But overall, um, I still would probably say like midway of my bachelor's.
like a 5 or a 6,
Maybe a 7,
a
because
7.
I wanted for the ones that I feel like I'm I have conquered and overcome some things, and I'm better apt and equipped. I want to factor that in where there are some areas where I definitely need um, more help and more time to get there because
Mhm.
I'm working on that. Not just like, okay, I need more time because I'm not more
Right.
time to work on it. So I would say a seven.
Okay.
A seven is good.
I'm with you. I feel like overall, let's say on my best day, overall,
Yeah.
I'll give myself a 9. I feel like in most
Oh wow,
situations,
that's great.
I can be present. I'm aware of my feelings. I'm aware of my emotions. I'm also, even if I react bad, I'm like aware of it. I can go back. I can readjust. I can apologize. I can do all those things. I don't show up that way every day.
Okay.
That I can say. I do not show up that way every day and in every circumstance. I feel like I do great at work. Um,
Mhm.
I can stay very calm at work, no matter what the situation is, even in conflict. I can take perspective. I can think of
I get a 10 at work. And maybe because it's connected to the job and it's
Mhm.
like I need my job, so I can't I cannot literally afford
Yeah,
to just let loose and everything. So and it should not be like that. You should have that same, that same energy should be consistent across the board, no matter who it is.
I think it's. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I think sometimes with people who you're most close to, because they're more closer to you, you you give them a short stick.
Right. And it's because, right, those things that are not personally connected to us,
Mm,
as you grow and learn, you're able to compartmentalize it. So work is very different. Um, and so because certain things are not personally connected to me at work. Now, it's personally connected to me if I am, someone is saying something about my performance. Well, that's me. If someone is just talking about me, what you perceive me to be, then that's personal. So that's another reason why I give
mm,
myself a 9. Well, I'm a little weird when it comes to ratings because I'm like, well, I'm not perfect, and a 10 is perfect, but it's like 10 technically it's not even perfect, but I had to work out my own stuff, which is just a side note. Like I recently had a performance review, and my director was like, "Why did you mark yourself 9 on everything?" And I was like, "Because I just feel like you can't be perfect. There's always room for growth." And she's like, yeah, but I think certain things you're like excelling in. I'm like, oh, well, thanks. Um, but so that's why I said 9. But again, at work, it just looks different to your point,
okay.
right? Like, it's not personally outside of like if you're personally attacking me, that's something different. But even with that, it's like, okay, because I can think you don't know me. But then when it comes
Yeah.
to people who know me or I feel should know me, then it can get a little shaky. Yes,
Yes.
I may be aware of my emotions, but do I not want to talk about them? Do I want to talk about the issues at hand because I'm going to assume how you may react? But I think the biggest thing of that is just even being aware of the way you process things, you process emotions, you process circumstances and situations, and like being
Hmm.
able to step back and be like, okay, I'm mad, but why I'm mad? Why? What's the underlining feeling of this mad situation? Like, oh, they hurt my feelings. Did they hurt your feelings, or did they say something that was very true, and it makes you feel embarrassed? That was something.
Mm,
Remember, we tried real hard, y'all, to be able to put this feelings wheel up for everyone who is able to watch, but we're not successful. But when you're talking about emotions and feelings, like the biggest, we have these overall feelings, right? And so I'm gonna read them. We know what they are, but just so I can say them right. We have sad, we have angry, we have surprise, we have fear, we have trust, we have happy, anticipation, and there's disgust. But when it comes to those big feelings,
mm,
you have to dig deep. And the dig deep is like, what other feelings, other emotions that you're feeling that's under that? And that's when we put like talks, dig deep. So like when I said about sad, feelings that fall under sadness is ashamed, lonely, hurt, grief, depressed, unhappy. But what is something that falls under unhappy? It could be hopeless, miserable. Like, I mean, it
Mm,
goes on and on and on with different feelings. And that, I think, is a big piece of being emotionally mature, being aware of emotions, being able to say, I'm feeling this way, but even dig deep on those feelings. Because once your awareness is the first step, because there's nothing you can deal with unless it's like, oh, that is happening. Now, why is it happening?
right.
And what can I work on to change
True.
it, or just be aware of it, because some stuff is just going to be there. Like certain things you're going to always have grief about, but knowing when those feelings come up, oh, this is what this about. So when I'm feeling this come up, maybe I should be like, you know what, I need to talk to you later. Or maybe it's like, nope, today this is how I'm feeling, I'm going to be to myself, I'm going to watch TV, I'm going to go
Not
do.
today, Satan.
Exactly. Right. Not today saying like, I see what you're trying to do. I'm gonna go for a walk so I can get these feelings out. I can get my body regulated and be present in the day and kind of switch off those feelings.
Yeah. And that's good that I think that a lot of times when people like, well, you need to dig deeper, where it's okay, you have the big one and then what it goes into, and then that is further subdivided so that you can get to those root issues. And even if a lot of times our problems is, we dig, it goes to a person, but that person invoked something, and it
Yeah.
still goes back to those deeper underlying things. Um, and as I say, a lot of stuff can be from childhood. I think just in human nature, nobody wants to have negative feelings. That
Right.
is for sure. And no one wants to be embarrassed or felt ashamed. So those negative feelings, it's like it don't matter who you are, where you come from, or anything. Nobody, because it just doesn't feel good. But
Right.
then
Like
how
nobody's
do
looking
you?
for it. I want to
Yeah.
say something to what you just said. Nobody wants to have those negative feelings. And another piece of emotional intelligence is being okay having those feelings. Because a lot of times people shun away and it's like, no, 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 I'm fine. And it's like, well, no, you're not. You're sad. And that's okay. Dig deep, work on that, or figure out why you're feeling that way. I think to want to not want to not call a thing, that's definitely going to keep you in that space. That's going to keep you from not growing, which ultimately is being mature, growing. Because mature is just your growth, right? So don't shy away from negative feelings.
So do you think some things that may hinder that growth is trust? Like, I don't know if I can trust you to dig deep, because when I start lifting up these layers, people they relive this, and being very, because you have to be transparent and vulnerable and open with these people, and maybe some of the reason how they feel whatever they feel could be rooted in someone embarrassed them, someone made them feel ashamed, or dirty or something like that. I don't know, or they feel some type of guilt about certain things, but then they don't trust anybody to be able to tell them fully, and then that prevents the growth.
Yeah. And one of my supervisor once said, growth growth happens in discomfort. Growth does not
Mm,
happen when you're comfortable. Like,
true,
because you're
true.
just gonna stay the same, and I'm not saying people should just trust everyone, but when you're trying to grow, and here's the thing, it does not even, like, you're working, like you said, you're working on certain things, right? There can be someone where you have not reached where I 100% trust you.
Mm,
And where you can see the difference, you can't say, oh, you're not emotionally intelligent or mature because you don't trust me. No, but I can't, if I'm telling you, here's the thing, I don't trust you just yet. I am at 75% with you, and these are the
okay.
reasons why. I have had maybe past experiences, and since I've known you, these are the things that's happened. So this is where we are. I think that's a very emotionally mature conversation. because you're being
Uh,
honest. You know, it's not I don't
mhm.
trust you, so but I'm not telling you that I trust you, or you just say I don't trust you. What's somebody supposed to do with that?
Right.
They
And
can't do
especially
nothing with that.
right, and especially if that person has not given a reason for
Exactly.
the distrust. Now, I've had several conversations with friends and family before about trust, and even trying to explore some of my trust issues. Um, which I thought like, and I feel like there was like awesome growth with me. I felt like a lot, especially talking about relationships and
Mhm.
stuff. A lot of my trust issues spawn from not having my father in my life. And then I realized it's like, no, because it never was said to me at any point in time, he's coming to pick you up. And then I was lied to. Well, I'm sitting like if I was sitting outside, you know, on a porch, like my daddy go come today. He ain't know he was supposed to come. He ain't know I was outside waiting. Like it was clearly like made up in my mind where there had never been any promises that was ever made to myself or to my mom in relation to what he was going to do for me or about me. It was
Mhm.
just the whole he faltered on his moral and spiritual things that a father should be with a child. So like innately I just knew you supposed to be here. So you wasn't. But there never had been any lies that were told. This is not giving him any excuse, but most of the time people they distrust comes from a lie or
Right.
you an unmet expectation. But it was just a moral ethic. But then when I was having conversations, with some other people and was talking about, you know what, I think, sometimes maybe it come from who was around,
Mhm.
those trust issues. So when you're young and you hear your mama and your eavesdropping or they walk through the house and you're 5, 6, 7 years old and then you have heard all your life, you can't trust nobody. You hear them on the phone, you can't trust nobody. I can't trust her. I wouldn't trust this person as far as I can see him, as
Mhm.
far as I can throw an elephant. And it's just like nobody can pick up an elephant. The elephant cannot be thrown. So therefore, you processing that with your child mind, meaning that I can't trust nobody.
Mhm.
Nobody is trustworthy. So I think as you transition and you get older into adulthood and you already go out there with a distrusting demeanor, a distrusting mindset,
Mhm.
a closed off, walled off heart and ears because it's like I'm looking for you to do something that's distrustful per se. So the trust issue may never have been rooted and grounded in someone did something to misuse your trust or make them trustworthy. It's just that that's what you heard growing up. And this is some of the reason why
Yeah.
kids don't need to be in grown folk business and they don't need to be eavesdropping because you hear things and they have in your mind absolutely no context.
They have no
I
context,
can't
and
trust.
the way they process children process things very different. You know, our brains are not fully developed until we are 25. That goes for everybody.
That's a
And so
long
you think
time.
exactly. So a 5 year old, a 6 year old hearing something and processing what that means to them, you know, that just looks very different. And I think that is a great point of even the digging deeper. But even going to I want to go back to your point about your dad not being there and what we talked about the feelings will. Technically, your dad not being present, my dad wasn't present when I was younger. So I would say some of my trust issues come from there. But if we go back to the feelings wheel, you'll have trust. I think it'll be separated into those different things. Someone not being there, regardless if they ever made a promise, it's an underlying expectation. So that's abandonment. So you would
Yes.
have
Okay.
trust and you would have abandonment under there. And the other one you're talking about is unmet expectations, where
Okay.
you've heard other things, so or expectations because you expect people not to do what they say they're gonna do. And that would be
Mm,
a different. level, but I definitely would still put abandonment under that trust, because
Yes,
even if I don't expect you, like I don't expect you to do what you're gonna do, is different from I expect you to leave. Those are two
very
different
true.
things, because somebody could
Very,
be there
very
all the
true.
time, just never doing what they said they were gonna do.
Right.
So,
And I think just using that word with abandonment, you have to be very careful because in my instant, I was abandoned by my father because it you supposed to have been there. I think
mhm,
there's no person on God's green earth that would say, well, let's explore that versus someone being lonely.
right,
Because
that's different.
loneliness
Hmm.
is, some people are like, "Well, I just feel abandoned." No, you lonely,
You
which
feel
I feel
abandoned. Did anyone actually abandon you? People may have left because they moved or they're doing something else. So you're feeling abandoned. They didn't abandon you.
exactly. So we definitely have, I think that coming to knowing true definition of the words, not your own personal definition of words, to so that they are used in the right context, in the right way, appropriately, so
Right.
that if you are in therapy or you just speaking with your friends, that if someone sit up there and tell me, well, I feel abandoned, I'm using it in textbook abandonment. You were supposed to be here and you left,
Hmm.
versus I ain't got no man and I'm just lonely at the house. I just feel abandoned. Well, nobody didn't
Or your
abandon you.
friends
You
move,
ain't got no.
your friends
Yeah,
move. Like you live somewhere and you have a close friend and that person move and you feel abandoned. It's like, no, because you're supposed to be here. Not necessarily that they were like contracted here, but it's
they
like, but you've
maliciously
been here
abandonment.
exactly. You've been here since the beginning. Like, so yeah, you're supposed to be here. Because in my mind, I mean, that's a real feeling. But when you
Yes.
dig deep with that, and I think that is a huge piece of being emotionally intelligent, being able to say, what does that mean? Because and
Mm-hmm.
knowing different emotions, like your when they talk about emotional vocabulary, that's exactly what that means. Because
Oh,
people will throw around words like, well, like I said earlier, you said it. You ask a lot of questions, and to me, I consider those clarifying questions. Not
yes.
because it doesn't always mean that I don't understand. I just want to make sure I am understanding you correctly, because
Mm-hmm.
words, have meaning, and if we are having, and I mean abandon in a way like you left me, you said you was gonna stay. We're gonna have a whole argument because it's I didn't abandon you, da 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 da. But when the person, if I say, well, what do you mean I abandoned you? It's like that's how I feel because I just expected you to be here all the time. And then this happened. We can have a real conversation about feelings rather than the fact that I'm trying to argue that I didn't abandon you, because technically I didn't abandon you
Yes.
if I
You know,
didn't.
let me tell you, like when you were just sitting there saying that, like I just looked up and there's a house that someone would call abandoned. And if we just
Mhm.
want to put it like, how can people distinguish between the two? An
Mm,
abandoned house is, it's still owned by somebody, but they left it. They left the contents. They left it to fall and collapse in on itself versus, okay, this house is empty because the people they move, but they got a for sale or for rent sign out front. They
I
they
just
they
had an
want people to
idea
be back
when you
into the
said
house.
that, using that example. You know how you say sometimes, oh, that looks abandoned, but somebody still lived there. Like you can actually have it where a house is abandoned, nobody left. I mean, they left, they packed their stuff, they left out, and then you look at a house like, oh, it look abandoned, but really it's just not taken care of. It is just there. It's not being nurtured, and that's a lot of time when we're talking about the feeling of being abandoned. It's like, oh, I'm not feeling nurtured. I don't feel you here. I'm not getting the things that I expected to get, you know, and that is a big piece of being emotionally intelligent, like being able to communicate. Oh, communication is number one, I think. Well, number two. Number one, having your emotional vocabulary. Number two, being able to express it, because it helps no one if you can define it and you can look and say, oh, well, I am currently feeling, if we looked under abandoned and you even dig deeper, maybe that feeling of abandonment, you feel lost. And so that's what
Mm.
was stuck. Like if I can't then, yeah, I have that right. Like oh, you know what? I'm feeling lost because I was abandoned. And when people are abandoned or something is abandoned in a wilderness, they then they're what lost.
Yes.
If I can get that and I'm like, that is what I'm feeling, work through that. But then I can't communicate that to my family. I can't communicate that to my partner. Like that, the
Hmm.
communication is the next one. The communication is definitely the next step to emotional maturity. Because how can someone know?
Right. And despite what anybody will tell you, no one is a mind reader. I
Mm-mm.
think the closest that anyone is to a mind reader is a mother to their child. And the reason why I say that is because I think sometimes with my son, he's 50% me and 50% of his dad. But I've dealt with his dad on a different level than he's dealt with his dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, it's certain things. It's like, oh, I know what's about to happen. I know what you're about to say,
I know what
and
you
then
do.
some. Exactly, because it's like your brain is very much wired up like mine, and so I think parents are probably the closest to reading people mind
And knowing what's coming next.
with their children
And
because
not because you are
they
them, but
mini
also
me.
you've seen them grow up. So if you are the the observer of this thing, this person, that's like with my dog. I mean, it's probably not a good example, but I kind of know, with dogs, when they are sniffing around, guess what that's telling me? Oh, she probably needs to go out of the bathroom long before she goes to her potty bell. I know, oh, she's gonna be ringing that bell soon because I've watched her, I've observed
Yes.
her, and I figure it out. But the reality is, even in those scenarios, we don't always know for sure.
This is true. Sometimes it always can be a hit or a miss, but as
Right.
I say, the closest people that I think that can read people's mind is a parent towards a child, just
Yeah.
because they see a younger version of themselves that is happening. But going back to part of the communication, I think with immaturity and the maturity of emotion, definitely converts 100% back to communication. Yes, you can be talking, but are you talking uh effectively? Are you getting your point across? Is the person actually hearing what you say versus what they think you're going to say? Because there can be two conversations happening at the same time, and it doesn't have to be miscommunication. It's just that the person think, oh, I know what they're going to say. And so when they are talking, and like we do with everything, sometimes when I'm thinking of you or something like that, or let's say like I see something, I hear how I think you're going to respond in my
Yeah.
voice.
Yep. Yep. And you know what happens? It's funny because not only do I hear you, sometimes I may respond because I've already assumed what you're gonna say. And so my response that I have ready may not even match what you said. And then they be like, wait, huh? I've had
Right.
that happen. And that's again why I can't say that I am always present and always like doing the right thing, reacting correctly. But to be honest, I still think that's a part of being emotionally mature to at least recognize it.
Very true. And I
Because
know
honey, we're
I
not
will.
perfect out here.
If I have to have a big conversation with a person, I will have rehearsed that conversation, and I almost, if I say this, what could they say? What about if they say this? Then what is my reaction? And part of me rehearsing and trying to figure out if this is going to work, this is not going to work. There's always a part like, man, I'm finna turn up. I'm gonna explode. If that's the type of thing, because which I mean, it's funny, but I think to a certain degree, um, that's healthy as well. Like, so you can get it out your system, and we're just like, oh, which you already know, this is not going to be, that's not going to work. But at least you got it out your system. Like, man, I just went off and I just cussed them out in my head, and sometimes it's just like, you know what, it's better that it happened in my head, or while I'm standing up there in the mirror, or cleaning up, walking around the
Hello.
house and stuff, and it's just between me, the Lord, and the devil that's in there, you
Not
know.
the devil that too. Yeah, the Lord and the devil,
Girl,
you have to be on on each shoulder.
sometimes the devil be like, go ahead, jump on my back, I'll take you there. And it was like, no, not today. I cannot do that. Like last time, I'm still trying to get myself out of trouble when I was riding with you. Can't be doing
Last time. I said last time was gonna be the
the
last time.
last time. Right. But it just something happened and it ended up not being the same thing. So I definitely think that that is, you know, the communication. Also, are you, and let's go back to the maturity level, and as I said, going back to the emotional wheel, are you able to verbally express your thoughts, your feelings, and emotions effectively, so that the other person that you're trying to tell, they know without a shadow of doubt what you are saying and what you're not saying?
And how do you know if you don't ask them? I think it's very
That is
important
so
when you're
true.
having a conversation that you like stop. You should not be talking 10 minutes is a long time to talk. That sounds short, but you should not be talking 10 minutes and you haven't stopped to be like, you get what I'm saying? And give a person a real opportunity to say no. Because and if unfortunately when you ask that question, some people just be like, yeah, because they think they do. I think the better question is, can you tell me what you heard me say?
Mm,
And then some people might get annoyed by that, but I think if both people who are having these conversations, be it your partner or in family, even at work, I think you will cut down on miscommunication because people don't always hear what you're saying. They're hearing, like you said, they're hearing with tone, they're hearing with a preconceived notion, and so based on what you're saying, those things are like layering it and masking it, and you have opportunity correct instead of the next time you talk it's like, no, that's not what I meant at all. But
yeah,
that also takes emotional maturity to ask that, because sometimes we're like, I don't want to know if they really understand me.
yeah,
Let me just talk and
A-
get it out.
yeah. I absolutely agree. And then that goes back to the emotionally immature, where if people are watching this on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube, it says in the back emotionally immature, but we capitalize the I in the second M as to say
Hmm.
I'm mature, because most people do not recognize that they are emotionally immature. They definitely feel like it's everybody else, and it's like, you're not listening to me, you don't want me to be great, you a hater. These
This
are
is
some
true.
classic things where it's just like, ain't nobody hating on you. Like, the situation at hand is not something to be hated on, but it's just like you throw around these catchphrases, you gaslighting me, which that is a absolute true thing. But I do know that when words become viral and then they just start,
Wow.
people pick them up, and Lord knows they throw them out just like dice. Whatever come out, oh, I'm woke. You're just too woke for me. You sleep. You don't want. They just say all this, and it's
I
just
am
like
with you on that.
the
Because
other
when people
person
say that,
looking like,
I want to say, what do you mean? And people hate that when you say, what do you mean? Especially, well, not everyone. People who are emotionally immature hate when you ask them what you mean. Like, to me, that is an indication of emotional immaturity. Because if I'm asking you, what do you mean? That means I don't understand. So if
right.
you're saying, if I know the definition of gaslighting and you say I'm gaslighting you, now, some people may say, well, that could seem like gaslighting. But if I don't understand in what way I'm gaslighting you, take time to explain it.
And if it's some things, I don't know if everything can be a situation that can be gaslit. To
No,
be
I
honest
agree with
with
you, because that's kind of what I was pointing to. And I probably didn't even say that right, because that was what I was trying to say. Like, when I say, what do you mean? Most times I'm saying it because what you saying I'm doing, I don't see it that way because that's not how I define it. Or maybe
And
that's not
not
even how
just that, but
everybody define
this is not even that situation where I could be
it.
telling you, my feelings got hurt because of this. It could be, as you say, an unmet expectation. Like they got
Wow.
busy, they didn't call, and then now I'm left wondering, did something happen? To me, this is not no gaslit situation. Last time we talked, you said you was gonna call, you didn't do it. The reason why is because you got busy. And I'm just telling you, guess what? I was just sitting over here wondering what happened. I thought something happened. Like next time, just just text me or whatever. But then it's like, see that ain't nobody trying to rain on your parade or whatever. Stop your fun. It's just about, hey, I am concerned about you. And I think sometimes some people, part of being immature, maybe they didn't get enough of hugs. Maybe they didn't understand that type of concern. Maybe concern was wrapped up in something that just wasn't right, because a lot of the stuff
Mhm.
is born out of childhood, because as
Oh
children,
yeah.
children are not mature. That's number one. There's not a child in the world that is mature, and I'm pretty sure even some genius child that's in Mesner is probably still aggravating. I'm just saying, they probably worse aggravating because they so smart.
And they think they know everything.
Exactly, exactly, or whatever like
And I
that.
think you brought up a great point of, children and the fact that they're not going to be, emotionally mature. But I think that's where it all begins. It all begins with children being able to have emotions and
Hmm.
parents being able to handle those emotions. And a lot of times, because parents haven't been taught to handle their own, they can't handle their children's emotion. And what I mean in that way, like if a child is sad and it's like, you shouldn't be sad about this, you can feel that way. Like, don't say that. And let's dig deeper. You're sad because we can't go to the park. Yes. Well, are you sad or are you disappointed? Because
Right.
disappointed means you wanted to go and now we can't go. But sad is like it makes you want to cry and you feel like you're never gonna go. Like I'm giving that example.
Yeah.
And so that way helping to differentiate emotions. But most
And
parents be
also,
like, shut up crying. You can't help
exactly, that
it.
is true. And I think sometimes just talking in a complete sentence and not talking about grammar, just, hey, we can't go to the park today because it's raining. Then just to let the child know, it's not like after they've been begging and crying for 15 minutes. We'll go look outside, look out the window. Don't you see it's raining? You know, ain't nobody outside. At that point, the child, they will see the rain, but it's not registering.
And also,
So,
you're free to have emotions. Like that's telling a child that it's raining, so therefore you shouldn't be disappointed. No, you still get to be disappointed. We ain't going,
right, but I
but
think
it's
on the
okay.
front, if on the front end, the parent, when they tell them we're not going to the park because it's raining, or hey, the car is not starting, the car
Mhm.
has a flat tire, and you know what, sometimes you may have to go out there, and it's also a teachable moment. Not that you always get your way, but look, this is how you know if a tire is flat or not. You see how it doesn't look like the other
Right.
three tires, and so daddy's gonna come, or I got to get another tire, for that. Or maybe the battery is dead and it's like, look, crank it up. It's not doing anything. The car is not working right now. So there's other things that you can do to try to incorporate a teachable moment, not just you don't get your way, but also what is the cause of it?
Right.
Okay, maybe this is when I can teach the child about what the F and the E stand on in the car. We don't eat. We do not have any gasoline.
Well,
You
and
know,
that's all
so
we call it multi-causal thinking, right? And if
yes,
there's a idea for a child, if something happened one time, we can't go to the park because mama said we ran out of gas. So the next time we go to the park, we must have ran out of gas because they don't they sometimes, I mean, and it's about being cognitively developed to understand that, oh, there's multiple reasons. So to your point, yes, I think teaching that is important because you're teaching them, hey, there's multiple reasons why things happen. But I still think that even with that, children will can still be disappointed. And
oh,
instead of saying,
absolutely,
well, I told you
but
the car didn't start and stuff like that, I think it's just the whole thing of helping them to it's okay to feel your feelings. That don't mean you need to be mean to your brother or sister or me. And B, are you sad or are you disappointed? Like, or whatever, what other
but
emotion is coming up for them?
and children are always in that why.
Right.
It gives an answer as to why versus we not going. Well, a
Right.
lot of times parents is like, we ain't going to the park today. And then absolutely no explanation, and it's not like, man, I know I was in trouble today at school or during the week I got in trouble or something, so they can't put together and they don't see a reason as to why we're not going. So I
Right.
think if parents try to do that on the front end, give the reason why, guess what, your child still may be disappointed but they not devastated, which is two different things.
Yes. That is very,
So
because, and a lot of devastation comes from confusion. And confusion is a whole nother emotion. You know, confusion actually makes people angry. Now, a lot of
yes,
people miss that. And when it's like, I'm angry, and it's like, and sometimes it's like, I don't know what's going on, right? And there's a big emotion, but it's interesting when you dig deep and somebody says that, I don't know what's going on, that confusion actually can make someone angry.
right.
Like
and
that.
and and also the emotional maturity to know and recognize I am confused, but if I don't just leave it at that confusion and try to sort
Yes.
out this confusion, it is 2.5 seconds before turning into anger. So
Listen, I say that when it comes to me being hangry, because I can be hangry, and I am very aware. Well, I'm aware now. I feel like I've gone to therapy. I'm a therapist, so I dig deep on almost basic things, and it's recent things that I've noticed about me. Like, I feel like I was always my case study in the back of my head, but before, I mean, some things you just do naturally that you don't know what you're doing. That's the point I'm trying to make, right? Some things it's like you naturally do it. You don't have labels. It's like even gaslighting. Like, even before I knew gaslighting, what gaslighting was, I know what that technically I know what it is. Like, oh, you're trying to make me feel like I'm tripping. Gaslight. But
yes.
or like even with the like hangry thing, I always knew my body told me, yeah, I'm about to shut down in a way that's like I can't think of anything else. And I tell people I'm hungry. And when I say
Okay.
I'm hungry, my friends, my family know she need to
Well,
eat.
I'm going to say this because I seen a video, I think it was on like TLC or something one time about hangry. And I know you said that it's emotional, but actually it's primal. That the area of the brain that has hunger and satisfaction also deal with your fight and flight and stuff like that. So when you become hungry and it evokes like, okay, I am mad. I gotta, it's almost like you scavenging. Those
Mhm,
are the people that back in tribal times that they were the best hunters
mhm,
because it was like I got to find food. Like I'm not gonna let my food kill me. I'm going to go and hunt and kill this food. So it's like, as they say, you hunter gatherers. Most of the men was hunters and the women was gatherers because it's like the gathering is fruits and vegetables that are grown. So if they are in bloom and they have grown, you just go and gather them. Versus the hunt, it becomes like, okay, I'm ravenous, like I'm
mhm.
bloodthirsty. So it goes back to some of our primal reflexes and stuff.
So
Not
I
saying
but
that you
I
don't
don't
get
because that's
get
what I
mad,
say.
but I'm
They
just
those
let
two
you
things
know
they
it.
work together. It's not one or other. It's a and thing. Like, it is
Yes,
very primal, and it's like in that
yes.
dysregulation of I can't think of anything else. Now, how does
But
it show up
that is
emotionally?
why. That is why, because the whole thing was like, why do people get like that? They should be able to reel it in, and it's like everybody cannot because it's the sensation of hunger. It's like it's a survival mechanism
It,
at that point. Whereas like, okay, somebody stepped on my toe and I got mad. You ain't gonna die because they stepped on your toe.
right,
It's
and
not a
that's
life or death
behavior. That's
situation.
behavior. Like, somebody step on your toe and you get mad. That's something you learn. Is like
Yes,
somebody
but
has
it's not
triggered
life
a
or death.
pattern.
But eating
Right.
food, it is life or death. Although we
For
know at
some
that moment,
people.
Yeah.
Right.
My
So everybody, when it comes to like even the hangry piece and what people need, like some people are dysregulated. Their food is dysregulating for them. Like not being able to eat is very dysregulating. Not being able to hear something can be very dysregulating. Like it was like, shoot, I can't hear, and like they can't even pay attention to what they can hear because they're trying to hear something else. So even in that, it's about how it shows up emotionally because we are physical, mental, spiritual beings. So the emotional
absolutely.
piece of it is how it shows up for you. Because in that moment where my body is telling me, yeah, I need to eat, and I'm now dysregulated. So dysregulation for me a lot of times will show up when I'm hangry, and it's like I am dysregulated. I am not in my regulated space where I am calm and I can think
Exactly.
clearly, and I will have the worst attitude. And that's my point. I
Yeah.
was trying to get to how I listen.
Yeah.
I will have the worst attitude. I will cut you off. I have been waiting on food and was like, I want to go to McDonald's because I can't do like I literally cannot do this. And if you ask me another question, I feel like I'm about to cut you out. So I need to go to
Right.
McDonald's because I cannot wait any longer for that. And in
But I
that,
that's why I said I don't feel like a hangry people who become that way, that's not a maturity or immature thing, because it is definitely, it puts you in a survival
so I'm
state.
not putting it in. I'm not putting it in a case of you're mature, you're immature. The
Oh,
maturity
okay.
comes in. That's the point I was trying to get to. The maturity comes in that I can recognize that this is what's going on for me, and that's what I need to do before I react to someone incorrectly. That's a maturity to me. That's a maturity thing. That hey, so this conversation is maybe not going right. Let me think about. I'm scanning myself. What is going on with me? You know what? I need to eat. Can we take a five so I can eat so then I can come and be present? Or maybe I need to calm down. That's the maturity. It's just like the whole idea of, yeah, just because you're emotionally mature, you're not going to never have an argument or you're never going to disagree or say something wrong. But the maturity piece comes in that you recognize what you said or what you did and you can come back and have a conversation. So that is where I was putting that, where it's like
Okay.
the maturity piece is being aware of self in
Okay.
that. So for that, that was the hangry piece.
Okay, and speaking of that, like once you get to that maturity and awareness of self, and you put in your work to get to the next phase where it's like, hey, I communicate pretty effectively. That's if the person is willing to listen, but it's like, I know I can convey my thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I have self control over myself. I don't let people hijack my emotions and everything, and you've arrived, as I say, now you at top tier. You know,
Yeah,
you graduated from college, you in graduate school with your emotions and feelings, and then sometimes
got your
people can
doctorate.
become self righteous, like, oh, I am here, and they get spiritual amnesia, and it's like somebody else that seen you a year ago saw your progress, but then now it's like, okay, you got it. And it's
And I
just
think
like,
people with that
hold up, I
self-righteous,
was.
they don't think they can ever make a mistake.
And it's going, it can, I think that if you become that way, you run the risk of alienating everybody that's around you, and then next thing you know, you are lonely because literally nobody is around. We all want that human interaction and everything. And it's like, and if you gotta hold on to your emotions, and then now you don't have any type of outlet. Nobody wants to be around you. Nobody likes you, and you kind of don't want to be around the people who you know, because it's like they ain't put in their work. They ain't this and they
Right,
ain't that, and you out there on your own, you're gonna feel eventually like, dang, they really did abandon me. Not seeing you knew everything. You disassociate yourself and push them away because they were not where you had arrived at in your walk. It's just like everybody can't be born on the same day, the same year, the same time, and have it's an equal playing field. It's like I shouldn't expect a 16-year-old to have the maturity of me.
right.
And someone that's 80, that's saying that these are not people that are emotionally immature.
Because honey,
But
people that's
the
80 could definitely be emotionally immature.
oh, absolutely. So, and that's another great point, that it's not age specific,
Mm-hmm.
especially after you get to a certain age. Because I'm not. I'm looking for some level of maturity out of a teenager, but am I looking for what should I expect that for you to act like a adult?
Absolutely not. Hormones are everywhere. So you gonna react, you're gonna have feelings about stuff. I wanted to say this point too. You said it's not age specific. It's not, it's also not education specific.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely not.
I said, oh, I've been to school, I'm a therapist. Yes, I am a therapist, but just because you're a therapist don't mean that you are emotionally mature. You should be, but also you could just go to school and do well in school.
Exactly,
That's
because
that's the reality.
it does not take emotions for you to sit down and study. It does not take it take retention of what
Exactly.
you read and what you heard to be able to write papers and answer questions for a test. It's not one of those type of
Right.
things.
I
So
think to your, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
and we've seen plenty now in the age of video cameras. We have seen high ranking officials and everything where it's just like, oh my God, they are so immature. They acting like, as we say from where I'm from, you're acting like a chap, which is like worse than a child. Like, oh, they act
Exactly.
like a chap, and
That
we
means when
know
you're
that
13, you act like you 5.
maybe two. Maybe 2 years old because it's like the terrible twos,
Yeah,
and trying threes. So like we've seen people who we know they have education and they have some status, whatever like that, and it's like like
exactly.
they are acting like that. It's the same way with class. You can't put education is some things are just not equivocal.
No, you
And
can't buy class and you can't educate class. That is just something very different. And I would venture to say, we say don't become self righteous, but honestly, the moment you become self righteous, you are no longer emotionally mature. Because
true.
an emotionally mature person knows that, like, you're not in there judging people. You're not saying, oh well, you need to become emotionally mature, because you also know that you have your moments. You also know that you are not perfect. You also know that you don't show up in that way for everybody. So if I know that, I could never sit and be like, oh yeah, you're probably like a 5, you're probably a 2, you need to work on that, come back to me when you got it together. Like, okay, now you need to start over, honey, because you ain't got it.
Exactly. And also just when you said that, it just made me think about okay, every day there's someone out here that's completed a self-help book. And even in each self-help book, there is different ways to get across the goalposts.
Mm-hmm.
So still may be another book that you read and it's like okay, this is helpful. Also, once you get to that point, you still have not had every experience to see
That
how you were going
part,
to react emotionally,
that part.
because you can be like okay, I have a deadline at work, um I'm stuck in traffic, all of these things is, your boss could have told you you got this deadline and it's like 3 days out or it's tomorrow or whatever. You had no control over that because if so, you would have told them, let me know 2 weeks in advance. The traffic, if you're in any metro city, it's crazy anyway, out of your control. And once you get there to home, you realize like, hey, my hot water heater is busted. But guess what? You bought a house that was not brand new and the hot water heater had never been replaced.
Mm-hmm.
So you compound all of that stuff that's out of your control, even though you handle it, it's like, okay, I'm sit down, but I gotta deal with this water. Yes, I'm frustrated about, the traffic took a little bit longer, so I already know that's cutting in my time to sleep and eat and work on this project. And then somebody call you
Mm-hmm.
with some kind of problem. You already stressed out. You feel under the wire based out because it's only so many hours in the day, and then you have to get so much of stuff done. And then you when you go home, it's like I have to get this hot water heater fixed. Like, and you trying to call around. Guess what? You might have an explosion with your mature self.
You might. And the reality is, you could have had that situation happen before, but now it's very different because everything that happened before you got to the explosion never happened before. So now when the explosion happened, you have a very different reaction.
Right. Right. Or your in your immature days, you was fussing and cussing all of the drivers out. So you was able to let some of it out. Now you just like, whoo, let me put on a little bit of classical music or whatever like that. But then you still sitting up here just like, okay, how am I gonna do this project and get this report done? And it's like, okay, you trying to basically do an outline of what you need done in the midst of all of this, and then you get home and then you see it's a half an inch of water on the floor.
I have a question. Because you said in your immature days, does that mean I'm still emotionally immature? Because I be cussing all the drivers out.
No, 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 no. I think,
Lord have mercy. Listen, it's bad. I know
look,
it's bad too. But
I
I don't
think
want to cut
sometimes
nobody off. I don't want to be real ridiculous.
that's the outlet because you can't ram all these cars with your car. And you don't have that inspector gadget where like the car it just like lifts up and then you
And
have these
drive.
wheels that can right. So it's like since my go gadget car ain't working
Yeah.
and I don't have a monster truck to run all over you. So guess what? If you look in your rearview mirror, you definitely see me doing all this. Is like, yes, I know it ain't you. I know it's a 50, 11 cars in front of you. But guess what? You the one that I see that's in front of my car.
Now, just for clarification, like I said, clarifying statement, not question. I don't actually point at people and talk to them, but the whole time I'm driving, I'm like, "What the hell are you doing?" Like they can hear me, but I don't be. I'm not. I'm definitely not the one to be out the window like, "What are you?" I'm not doing.
No, but I'm in my car like sometimes, you see people
Oh,
like, what
for
the fuck is
sure.
you doing? Or whatever. And I beat up a steering wheel.
Yes.
Thank goodness my air and all my stuff on my dashboard still work because sometimes it get a little slap here, there, or whatever. But once I get there, it's like you're
Yeah.
exhausted. So it takes some of the fight out of you because just putting on this little bit of music or whatever like that. And even times when like I'm not necessarily in a rush or whatever, I think traffic is just annoying to everybody because it stops you.
Yeah. Traffic is awful. I have been told that it's like not. I'm in Atlanta, so the traffic is horrible here. But like my brother lives in LA, and he's like, you have no idea. He lived here once, so I'll go with that. Like that the traffic in LA is not. Um, better than here, but Lord have mercy, I can't imagine traffic somewhere else because the traffic here, I swear, it can happen at any time and it always catch you at the wrong time. So I definitely think that if you use that time to re-regulate yourself, I feel like cussing at people in my car is regulating for me. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if there's any books or papers on it, whatever. I'm taking it as it's just how I regulate while I drive. It's cussing people out while I drive. But Renee, I know that you looked up a few things to develop your maturity. Do you have those?
Yes, and I am gonna try to find these. Pull it up because I am using my phone, and I
Okay.
kind of I'm hoping that it does not.
Well, I would say for sure I don't we'll get to your part what you're looking up, but I think in developing your maturity, one thing is
Could
to
you still hear me?
expand your vocabulary. I think it's very important to expand your vocabulary, your emotional vocabulary, so that you can actually be able to explain how you're feeling. And first of all, be aware of how you feel, then explain
Mm-hmm.
how you're feeling. And not in a way of you made me feel this way, but just very like, so this is how I'm feeling. And that doesn't necessarily mean just because you're feeling some way don't mean that means somebody has to do something. Maybe you just want to make them aware so that way, like, yeah, I'm having a bad mood, so I'm gonna react a certain way. Maybe we shouldn't have this conversation right now. Or maybe that's why what happened earlier happened. Apologize. Um, knowing yourself. I mean, with emotion, and then knowing yourself. I know I spoke to the piece about being hungry. Like I know myself in that way, and yes, it's two things. It's a very primal thing. It's a physical thing. But how do I show up when I am now hangry and I can't get what I want? Like what I do, I find myself, I just be quiet. If in a
Mm.
moment where I now can't, um so I can't get what I need in that space, I'm quiet. Like I don't want to talk because I know that it's not gonna go over well. So I think
Okay.
knowing yourself is important as well.
Um. So, well, part of it, I'm because I'm on my phone. It's not letting me switch in
That's
between.
okay.
So, one of the things is take responsibility. So
Mm-hmm.
you need to take responsibility for the emotions that you display,
Mm-hmm.
because no one is in control of your emotions. As I had said earlier, people, they can hijack your emotions and stuff, but you allowed it to a certain degree. Whereas, like, if you emotionally mature, sometimes you can tell when people are trying to bait you in
Mm-hmm.
to get a reaction. But if whatever the reaction is, whether it's positive or negative or whatever it is, take responsibility for that action, right?
Yeah, I think that's definitely important.
The
So we
other
can,
thing is identify your emotion, identify what it is. Am I sad? Sad is the big umbrella. So what's under the umbrella? Is it grief? Okay, is it grief because, of some type of loss? So that's working all the way through that. Okay, I had my big emotion, but from that, what is the root cause? Because it's sad what the world sees, but
mm-hmm.
that, as I say, that's the iceberg. But what's up under that nobody else sees, that is going to be the root of it.
Yeah,
Also, find a role model, someone who you like, what, they always can keep it together, hold it together. And sometimes in different situations, ask yourself, what would they do? Just like people used to have those little bracelets, what would Jesus do? And it was one of those things where in whatever the situation is, what would Jesus do? Because, as I say, that was the person where it's like, okay, meek and mild, but yes, he did go up
he'll tell
in
you
the
what's
temple,
what. He wasn't afraid of
and he flipped
conflict.
over. He exactly, but what would Jesus do
Back it
in the?
up. You said something, and I feel like I cut you off, and I'm like, that was so good. We talk about the story when Jesus flipped the table.
Table? Yeah.
And we would never say that Jesus was not emotionally mature. That action, but at the same time, he was able to even reflect on that. So that brings like even Jesus reacted in a way that maybe wasn't the best reaction. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't emotionally mature because he even went back and was like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have did that.
Yeah, and also it's like, okay, he just didn't come in there and just flip the table over for no reason.
Right.
Like, he
He
had
said the
his reason.
reason.
He explained it, but it also was, this was the word that was wrapped up in flesh. So there was going to be things where, okay, you did get angry, you did get sad, you did get lonely. He had to feel all of those things. Think about when he was on the boat, and the disciples, they went to sleep. Like, went down there like,
He
can
felt
y'all not
abandoned.
stay up and pray with me? Like, do you not know what is about to happen? It's like,
He felt
yes, master, but
abandoned.
I just need 15 minutes, you know. And sometimes it's one of those things where it's like, let me fight for you, Jesus, but let me suffer with you. I don't know about that.
Ooh, honey, honey, that's gonna be a new topic. Are you willing to fight and suffer? We're gonna put that to the side. That's a good one. I know I took a side journey with the comparison, but I think it's a great comparison, especially when we talked about being aware of your emotions and being able to even accept the negative emotion. Because that anger that he felt in that moment where he flipped the table or anything else, the abandonment. Like it's okay to feel these emotions, but what do you do? Do you move forward? Do you move through it? Do you dig deep? And just comparing it to that, and really and truthfully, you should never become self-righteous if you think about it in those contexts. Because
Oh,
okay, never become self-righteous in that
Yeah.
way. I think those are great examples as to, things to do,
Yes.
especially getting the role model. I think that's a
I
huge one, because if you are finding it challenging on making these decisions, maybe you can't talk it out with a therapist, maybe you can't afford it, maybe you don't have a lot of friends, but it's like if there's a person that you've studied and you're like, I like how they show up in the world. And it could be a teacher, it could be someone you really don't know, like being able to think about them and how they react, that does help. That I think
Yeah.
that really does help, because if you are able to take it outside of yourself, because you know how you want to react. Most
Uh-huh.
times we know how we want to react. It's like, what this person do? Nah, you know what? I'm trying to do better. Boom, boom, boom. This is what I do. I really, really, really like that one. Um,
Also, another thing they said, keep a thought journal. So write down throughout the day or at the end of the day, what feelings did you have? What emotions did you have? And what brought those up? So then that helps you do your own work as to get into those root causes. Even if it's something happy, no matter what it is. Also, learn to be open minded, that your way and your thought process may not be the gold standard.
right.
Also, in people understanding you, they're not going to understand you with your mindset. They're going to understand you in their mindset. And so their perception of you is going to be different than how you view yourself.
Yep.
And if someone is viewing you differently than you view yourself, then that could evoke or will evoke some type of emotions. Because if I have five of my friends describe me or characterize me, everybody's going to have something different. One, because I ain't meet everybody at the same time. There's been different things in my life. It's been different things that I've told them, or some things me and one of my friends, we went through it together because they may have been going through the same identical thing. That doesn't mean anybody was wrong. It's just that, guess what? That was based off their experience with them. But I'm not going to be mad about how they see me. Also, remain in reality. So don't let your emotions take you to deep space nine, like you going off, but also is that you're not delusional about what is happening around you, and
Mm-hmm.
that you're being realistic as to what you're feeling, and that you're feeling something where people, they can sit up there and say like, hey, I see that you're stressed out. What can I do to offer to help you? Whatever and whatnot. Don't just be like, well, it's nothing wrong. Like, are you serious? You think people are not going to ask you, why are you pacing the floor? Why are you profusely sweating? You look like you're on the verge of a panic attack, or you're crying, or even if you're leaping for joy. People want to know what's going on. You're not acting. I'm not gonna say. I don't want to say normal, but you're doing something that's catching someone's attention. That's making them wonder what's going on with you. So they're gonna ask um
What
about that.
are you saying? Tell people what's going on?
I'm not necessarily saying I mean, I think that's a personal choice whether you want to tell them what's going on or what's not going on. But telling them it's nothing, and it's like, but they see you, like, don't
Mm.
try to make them think that they didn't see what they saw or they experienced what they experienced,
Yeah,
meaning
and
like
I think
they,
that piece of emotional maturity is not necessarily telling what somebody was going on, but at least saying, "So yeah, I'm dealing with something right now that's, and then I don't want to talk about it," and being able to have those conversations, like, "Yeah, I don't really want to talk about it. You
mm-hmm,
said you're dealing with something, okay." And it takes that other person being emotional maturity and being able to give people the space that they need. I think it's good. We can stop right there.
okay,
With what people can work with to develop some things and kind of think about it and figure out, like, how am I showing up? Am I doing this Like, am I thinking before I move? Am I using descriptions for emotions that's like, maybe it's a little bit deeper than sadness. Maybe you are more than happy. Maybe you are not disappointed. Maybe it's that you are grieving, like digging deeper into those things, because those will help you process things as you learn more about yourself and your emotions. And then you can better communicate those things with other people. And I really think the
Yeah.
biggest takeaway of being emotionally mature is the communication piece. Because even in your
Oh,
last example, when you're dealing in reality, if someone is asking you what's going on, being able to communicate, yeah, I'm not having a good day and I really just need to be with myself. It's not
yeah.
you, but I'm not having a good day. That is
Yeah.
important. That's a big piece. So I think in all things, clear communication, I guess we can't just say communication, but clear communication
Yes.
is a
Yes.
big piece of being emotionally mature.
All right.
I think this has
And
been a great
yes.
conversation. What were you about to add, Renee?
Just the last two, pause and be patient and live in the present.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the last two that will definitely help with being emotionally mature.
Yep. Pause. Don't jump
Yeah.
into stuff and be patient with yourself.
And others.
That is being patient with yourself and others. And even when you find yourself that you're not being patient with yourself or you're not being patient with others, you can say, "Hey, I'm sorry for not being patient with you," or, "You know
Hmm.
what? I need to give myself some grace."
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
not about being perfect. It's not about always doing the quote unquote right thing. It's about being able to correct, to mid course adjust, to explain to people what's going on with you. And number one is, and if you can't explain it to yourself, you can't explain it to nobody else. So the first
This
person
is
to
true.
deal with is you.
Yeah.
I think this has been a really good conversation. Like the whole
It
time we're
is.
talking, I'm thinking like, oh, you know what? We could do a topic on this piece of that. So I think I love it. And the reality is, as because we are now in our 40s, we said this is the 40 spot, and it's about, what is going on with us in our 40s. And there's a lot of growth that has happened from our 20s to our 40s, and what can we use that we're learning now from the past and learning now in our future, in the next 20 years. So I think it's important to continue to grow in maturity, because we're always going to grow in maturity, because soon and very soon we will be the grandparents, the great grandparents. So what do we do to then help others to grow in maturity and to become emotionally mature, so that people can have better relationships, just in
True.
general, better family relationships, partnerships, and working relationships. So yeah, I absolutely love this. I
Yes.
absolutely love today. But
Yes. I am definitely happy for that. As we get ready to close, please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend, rate us wherever you listen to your podcast at. Hit the notification bell if you're listening to us on YouTube. Ask us questions. You can always go to the 40 spot at gmail.com so that we can get your questions and everything. Also, if you want to support us through a monetary value, we on Cash App at $ the 40 spot. And as we get ready, we got some birthdays, we got
yes,
some good
we do.
news.
We got
All
some
right.
birthdays. Yes, we do. Is that the new
Happy,
song?
happy, could
No,
be.
we got a
And a
little bit.
happy, 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 happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Yay!
Happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Ah, ah, ah. Okay.
Hey, there we go. There we go. There we go. There we go. Happy
Yeah.
birthday. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So last Monday, a faithful subscriber of ours, Mr. D'Angelo, um, he's been in the 40 plus club now for 2 years and counting. So we
All
definitely
right.
would like to wish him a happy birthday. Also, one of my besties, she's celebrating a birthday this month. Nikki, we wish her all the best. Sending you love and light all the way from Tennessee and Georgia. Um, Also, as I said before, all of the graduates from everywhere.
Celebrating
That's all I.
y'all.
Yes,
Yeah. Well, I just have a couple birthdays from our subscribers. Tamara Johnson, happy birthday. Jadira
yes,
Jones and Tina Lewis, happy birthday. Hope you have had a wonderful birthday. No, we don't have anybody coming up at the end of the month, but please, 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 please email us and let us know your birthday. Let us know about your anniversaries. We really want to celebrate you. We take this time and say happy birthday, happy anniversary, happy graduation. Like Renee said, this is graduation time, so it'll be great to have some names that we can shout people out. So just want to celebrate a life with you. So happy birthday, happy graduation, happy anniversary. You can email us at the40spot at gmail.com. Again, that's the40spot, the40spot at gmail.com. And tell us when your birthday is, or you can DM us on all social media at the40spot. Let us know what's going on with you so we can celebrate you. Oh, we have one in our comments. We have
yes.
Roberts. All right, Fernette, that is your nephew. Oh, your first nephew graduated from high school. All right.
Congrats to him.
I hope that I am saying that correctly. Congratulations, honey, because there's some people that's not doing it. So good. I'm very happy for you and for all the graduates this uh year that's graduating.
Yes,
I mean, there'll be people that's graduating June and July, so we'll be celebrating. So please, please, please let us know what is going on with you. We'll be back in about 2 weeks, guys. Every 2 weeks, we come back with a good topic. Sometimes we're still trying to figure out what the topic is because some stuff just come up in our spirit, like, I think that's a good topic. But
exactly.
they follow us on all social media at the40spot. Send us an email. If you have a good topic, please, or I mean, not even just if you have a topic, let us know. Even if we have to dig deeper, if it's a broad topic, that's fine. We will figure out what to talk about because we definitely want this to be a space where we are all learning and growing in maturity in all things.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So thank you for joining us tonight. You have a wonderful, wonderful 2 weeks. But until next time, just remember if it costs you your peace, it is too expensive. Y'all
Way
have a
expensive.
wonderful night. Bye.